Yes, wholesaling. Yes, my favorite topic, my favorite investing strategy is wholesaling. Love wholesaling. Like I said, it's my favorite. I wholesale properties. I fix and flip properties. I own a portfolio of real estate um, where I get passive income from. But my favorite is wholesaling. For me, there's no better way to make money investing than wholesale. There's just no better way. Novice investors, new investors, best entry point for investing is wholesaling. So we're going to talk about wholesaling this evening. Get pen, get paper, take some notes. Everybody should be wholesaling, whether you're new to the industry, whether you're a real estate agent. I see a lot of fix and flippers that you guys know of that advertise on the radio, on TV. Now they're wholesaling. So they're advertising to generate leads, but they're really wholesaling. That's what they're doing. I have an agent investor named Danielle who a family member passed in her family. A family member passed recently. And the house was also deeded to another family member. That family member contacted her and said, I need to sell the property. And so Danielle, she took a look at the property needed about $180,000, $190,000 worth of work. And she said, I'm not going to go through all that. I'm just going to wholesale the property. So she contacted a cash buyer. Cash buyer took a look at the property. They negotiated a deal where Danielle made $35,000 wholesale fee. She didn't put up any cash. She didn't use any of her own credit. No contractors were involved. All she did was find another investor. And in a very, very short period of time, Danielle made $35,000 in her pocket. Reason why I like wholesaling is it's one of our cash building strategies. And as a real estate investor, there's two cash building strategies. One is wholesaling and the other is fix and flip. With wholesaling, there's little to no risk. You're not using any of your cash. No one's looking at your credit. Great entry point. The average wholesale fee here in our area in the DMV is, I'll say, around $20,000, $15,000, $20,000. I have some wholesalers who average $30,000. One of my agent investors, Marquise, last year, his very first deal, he made $100,000 wholesale fee. He easily averages $30,000 per deal. He's easily gone over that $50,000, $100,000. He recently had one where he told me he's going to be making $200,000 wholesale fee. And so that's why we're here. That's what we're going to talk about. And most of these wholesalers are making this money, you guys. Hey, Remy, are making this money in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. As soon as the title clears, their cash buyers who are buying either with cash or hard money or line of credit are closing quickly on these deals. You get your money wired to you from the settlement table, and then you're off to find another deal. Low risk, high reward. All right, so let's get into this, you guys. I want this to be interactive. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the comment section. But let's get into it. All right, so wholesaling. So wholesaling is probably new for a lot of you guys. You probably have heard the term. It's a real estate investment term, wholesaling. It's simply locating a property, a distressed property, and then finding the motivated seller who owns that property, negotiating with that motivated seller at a price where then you can then assign that contract. You can assign that contract to another investor. We call them a cash buyer. Actually, Patricia's on the line now. I think we're going to be doing a deal today where Patricia's going to make a wholesale fee. And she found that deal really just through networking, people that she knows. And so that's one of the ways that you find properties. And we'll talk more about how do you actually find the motivated sellers, because that's the key to wholesaling. If if you can't find the deals, you're not going to make any money. The key to real estate investing really is finding the deals. And the investor, the wholesaler that can find the most deals is going to make the most money. So it really comes down to lead generation, marketing. We'll talk a lot about that. But wholesaling, finding the deal, putting it under contract, and then assigning that contract to another investor. Now, to understand wholesaling, you've got to understand that there's two contracts that we use. We use the purchase and sales contract. Generally, I'll say 80% of the time, we use a purchase and sales contract. That's between you, the wholesaler, and the motivated seller. We put them under contract. Then we use another contract called the assignment agreement. That's between you and the wholesaler and the cash buyer or the other investor. On the assignment agreement is simply going to state that cash buyer, let's say I'm the cash buyer, that I'm going to take over all the rights and responsibilities of that sales contract, that purchase agreement. But more importantly, I'm going to pay you, the wholesaler, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 for the opportunity to take over that purchase agreement. So there's two contracts. Two contracts must be signed. You've got to know your contracts, you guys. You got to study the contracts, know your contracts. And so that's wholesaling. We're really not dealing with contractors. You're not dealing with the repairs. Once the deal closes, the cash buyer, they're the ones that deal with the contractors. And they're the ones that deal with, sometimes the contractor headaches, and all that goes on with that, change orders, things like that. So some of the advantages of wholesaling, like I mentioned, you need little to no experience to do it. Like I have wholesalers in my coaching program that one comes to mind. Amanda comes to mind. She went through my coaching program. I have an 8-week course. Went through my coaching program. One thing that really resonated with Amanda was bandit signs. And so Amanda went out and bought bandit signs. Bandit signs are those signs that you guys see on the side of the road that say "We buy houses." She bought about 50 bandit signs, put them all over her area. She wanted hers to be different, so they were hot pink. So they were a hot pink color. About 30 days after having the signs out, she got a phone call from a lady who husband had passed. It was a probate deal. And she said, I need to sell the property. I actually went with her on the appointment. And we negotiated with the lady a price. Amanda had her own cash buyers list, found the cash buyer. And on that deal, on her very first deal, with little to no experience, Amanda made $35,000. As a matter of fact, closing was on her birthday. She was out of town. And we wired the money to her from settlement on her birthday. What a great birthday present. $35,000, very little experience. So to get into the game, you guys, to change your lives, to start building generational wealth, it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of experience. Amanda didn't use any of her own cash, didn't use didn't show any of her own credit. Now listen to me, you guys. Here's the key. I mentioned that in real estate investing, there's two strategies. One's a cash building strategy, and that's wholesaling and fixing and flipping properties. We do that for cash. The other strategy in real estate investing is your buy and hold strategy. We're buying and holding for equity, appreciation, and cash flow. We want to have a strategy to use both. You are not going to become wealthy just wholesaling real estate or just flipping real estate. You also have to buy and hold. The question is, in order to buy and hold, you need cash. And so we're using the cash from wholesaling to then take some of that money to then build long-term wealth, buying and holding residential properties, buying and holding multifamily properties. A lot of my investors are buying and holding Airbnbs, vacation rentals, things like that. So keep that in mind. So when we do that, I'll talk to you guys today a lot about not needing credit to wholesale. But you do need to start working on your credit while you're building up your cash, and while you're building up your cash reserves. Start working on your credit, because in order to build long-term wealth, we want to buy and hold, or at least take some of that cash for a long-term investment and maybe put it in the stock market if you know the stock market, dividend stocks or something like that that's long-term. But we want our money to work for us. The problem with wholesaling is once we stop wholesaling, then our cash goes away. We're not making any more money. The reason I say to buy and hold as a long-term strategy is because when we stop buying and holding, our income continues. Matter of fact, it increases because we can go up 5% on rents every year. And so the cash flow keeps going. The equity and appreciation keeps going up the longer you hold on to the property. All right. Here's what I want you to understand with wholesaling and any other real estate investment strategy. You have to know the math. Second to being really good at finding the properties, second to that is knowing the math. The number one mistake that real estate investors make, the number one mistake is buying the properties wrong. You have to buy the properties right. How do you buy the properties right so that when you sell, when you assign, when you wholesale, you're going to make money, and you're guaranteeing yourself that you're going to make money? You've got to know the math. So we call that math the main formula. We call it the Mayo formula. Dietrich, hey Dietrich. And so Mayo stands for maximum allowable offer. I go over this every Tuesday night with my investors. We have a Q&A every Tuesday night. I go over the Mayo formula with my investors. I drill it into them because I want them to make money. I don't want them to lose money. And so if you guys are taking notes, write this down. Here's the formula, and I'll give you an example. As a wholesaler, we're going to try to, the maximum allowable offer formula is, as a wholesaler, 65% of the after repair value minus repair costs. So 65% of ARV, after repair value. After repair value is simply what the house will sell for once it's completely renovated. And so once it's got granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, new hardwood floors, new windows, roof, kitchen, bath, everything is completely renovated. What's the property going to sell for? That's what we call our after repair value. So we're going to take 65% of that after repair value, and then we're going to subtract out the repair costs. And that's the maximum that we're allowed to offer the motivated seller. That's our MAO. That's our maximum allowable offer. And then once we get that number, we negotiate down to that number, and we put them under contract using, if it's off-market deal, using the purchase and sales agreement. Then once we have them under contract, now we go to our cash buyers list. We're going to build a list of investors. We're going to build a list of investors that would be happy to purchase our property or take over our contract at 70% of the after repair value minus repair costs. And so they're going to do it at 70%. There's a difference of 5%. That difference of 5% or 5% of the after repair value, that's your wholesale fee. That's your wholesale fee. Quick scenario. Let's say that the after repair value on a property is $300,000. So ARV is $300,000. You found this property. It's an auction property. You've bidded the property. You did your math. You determined through research, through pulling comps, that the after repair value was $300,000. You're going to take 65% of that $300,000 to get $195,000. Minus repair costs. And so let's say that the repair cost is $60,000. And so we're already at $195 minus the $60,000, that's $135,000. So $300,000 times 65% is $195 minus $60,000, that's $135. That $135,000 is the maximum that you're allowed to offer the motivated seller, 135. Once you get them under contract, negotiate down to 135. Now you're going to do the math for the cash buyer, so that you know what to offer the cash buyer. A lot of wholesalers, they offer too high, and they don't get their deals purchased, get the contracts assigned. So we're going to do 70%. So 70% of 300,000 is 210,000 minus the $60,000 in repair costs is 150. And so that if we're able to find a cash buyer to assign that contract for 150, they signed the assignment agreement. You just made yourself $15,000. So you got it under contract for 135. You put a cash buyer under contract for 150,000. You just made yourself $15,000. Generally speaking, I put on the assignment agreement either 2 weeks or 3 weeks settlement. I make sure as a wholesaler, I'm sending the purchase and sales agreement and the assignment agreement to the title company. And I try to choose an investor-friendly title company, someone that I know, someone that I've used before. And I let them do the title work. I make sure that on the HUD, CD, Ulta, that my assignment fee is there, and I make sure that they have my wiring instructions and they wire me my money. And so that's how wholesaling works. You have to know the formula. You have to build a cash buyers list, and then you've got to do the math. You've got to know the math. One piece of advice that I would give is I would definitely make sure that I had cash buyers that could help me through the process, a coach or a mentor. You guys need a coach or a mentor to really help you throughout the process. Hopefully, I'm not making it sound as easy as some people would think it really is, because it's not. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. But it's not that difficult. And I'll give you guys some examples. A lot of my agent investors who are wholesaling properties on a regular basis. Steve, for example, one of my agent investors, Steve, he goes driving for dollars. He's got a great network of people that he's branded himself with, and they send him deals. And along with his real estate commissions, he's also wholesaling real estate. One of my investors, Asia, was in college. She was in college when she started coming to our meetings. Prior to COVID, we would have monthly meetings, and she would come to it. One thing that resonated with her was probate deals. And so between classes, she would go to the probate office once a week, bring home all the new filings. In her dorm, she would handwrite the letters and envelopes to the personal representatives of the estate. One morning, she got a phone call, and a personal representative called. It was the husband of his deceased wife. He called, said, "I got your letter. Can you come take a look at the property?" Now she's a sophomore in college. She came on one of our calls on a Tuesday night call, and we prepped her. She had her paperwork. She had her numbers. We ran comps for her. We teach how to negotiate. And so she ran the appointment on her own. She was able to get the motivated seller to sign the contract. She assigned the contract to one of our investors. And as a college student, she made $10,000, a quick $10,000, closed in 2 weeks. And she's been investing ever since. And so if these people can do it, you guys can do it too. Couple tips. Build your cash buyers list early in the process. Start building your cash buyers list. Put me on your cash buyers list. I'm buying properties, but there's many other cash buyers. If you're a cash buyer and you're on here, put your email address in the comment section. Put your email address. Let's start building a cash buyers list now. Put your email address here in the comment section. We'll build a cash buyers list. So you've got to have a strong cash buyers list. Listen, if you're finding properties, let's say in Baltimore, Maryland, for example, make sure that you have a separate cash buyers list for investors who are buying in Baltimore. If you're finding multifamily, well, build a cash buyers list of buyers who buy multifamily. If Colin is in the house, write down Colin's information. If you're in Washington, D.C., and you're finding properties in D.C., find a cash buyers list of cash buyers buying in D.C. Don't restrict yourself to just one cash buyers list that doesn't service actually what you're finding. I have an agent investor. He's one of my agents, but he specializes in land. And he's always finding land and he's finding great deals. He ran into an issue where he didn't have a lot of cash buyers who bought land. And so I sat him down. I said, look, we need to start finding cash buyers who buy land. And so that's what you have to do. And that's the type of cash buyer, not just any old cash buyer. A lot of people will build cash buyers list and really not have the cash buyer to assign the deals to. So find a good cash buyers list. Some of the places to find cash buyers, the number one place to find cash buyers, you guys, is at the auction. At the auction in front of the courthouse steps. That's where I find my cash buyers. There was a time prior to COVID where you could easily go to a RIA meeting, a meetup. I used to have a meetup. I will have a meetup hopefully by the end of this year when COVID kind of subsides and everybody's been vaccinated. But real estate investment groups is the best way to find your cash buyer and build a cash buyers list. Every day at different auctions at the courthouse steps, there's 20 different cash buyers. You go with your pad and you write down their name, their email address, their phone number, and what they're buying. That's how you start building a cash buyers list. But more importantly, cash buyers list is important. Knowing the math is important. What's most important is finding deals, you guys. That's most important. That's what's most important. All right. So here's something that I want to explain to you guys. When you're wholesaling properties that are on the market, meaning in the MLS, when you're wholesaling some auction properties, when you're wholesaling short sale properties, and write these things down, listen to this again. I don't want you using your name or your LLC as the cash buyer. I don't want you using that name. Again, when they're on market deals like in the MLS, when a lot of the auction properties, short sales, we're going to use what's called a generic LLC. One of my agent investors was on one of the auction sites. I believe he was on Hubzu, and he was upstairs here in my office, and he'd been following the property, bidding on the property. He had ran his numbers, and he knew exactly what not to bid over. And in this case, it was $125,000. And so he was bidding online against somebody else, got to 125. He said, okay, 125. And then the other person stopped bidding. He won the bid. He filled out the information and put his name as the buyer, his first name, his last name. He runs downstairs and says, Greg, I've got a deal for you. I want you to be my cash buyer. These are the numbers. And I ran the numbers. Okay, ARV is good. ARV is about 275. He got on the contract for 125. Bam, it's a good deal. First question I asked him was, well, what's the buyer's name? I'm assuming the buyer's name is an LLC that he can assign to, like 123 Main Street LLC. It wasn't, it was his name. And so I asked him, I said, well, Columbus, how can I be the buyer when you're the buyer? And I said, we've got a problem. And so he called the auctioneer, long story short, begged and pleaded. And so they sent an addendum allowing him to change the name to an LLC that I then took over. And so on those deals, we put the buyer's name as what I call a generic LLC. We'll make up an LLC where there's nothing in it. Well, once we win the bid, we'll get the articles of incorporation, and I'll take over, or the cash buyer can take over that LLC. If you have questions, ask about that. Kind of went fast. I mean, through that pretty quickly, but you've got to understand that I don't really want you to ever really use your name. Now, you can use your name on our investor contracts if it's a off-market deal. You can use your name because on our investor contract, boilerplate in there, you put your name and it already says and or assigns. And then in one of the paragraphs, I think of paragraph 11 says that this contract is assignable. And so as long as that's in there, you're fine. You can use your name. I would prefer you for a couple of reasons not to use your name. Use an LLC. When investing in general, always use an LLC. Basically, two reasons. Number one, you have the protections of a corporation. If you're doing business as an LLC and something goes wrong in the deal and you get sued, you can't get sued personally. You can only get sued what's in that LLC. Just like a corporation, so it's its own entity. And in most cases, for most of us, there's really nothing in that LLC. You should not be wholesaling using an LLC that you have buy and hold properties in. We're not doing that. But then the other reason to use an LLC is even though you have the protections of a corporation, you're not taxed at a higher rate like a corporation. You're taxed as a individual, sole proprietor. So use an LLC. Use an LLC. Make sure, and we have it boilerplate on the assignment agreement. Make sure your cash buyer puts up a deposit. So let's say the wholesale fee or the assignment fee is $20,000. I want them to put up at least $5,000 of that as a deposit. So in a wholesale deal, there's really two deposits. There's an earnest money deposit on the purchase and sales agreement that is held by the title company, your investor-friendly title company. But then there's also a deposit on your wholesale fee that's also held by the title company. I don't want you holding the deposit. I've had so many situations where the wholesaler held the deposit. Something went wrong on the title. Wasn't the cash buyer's fault. Something went wrong on the title. Deal never closed. Seller goes back to, the cash buyer goes back to the wholesaler and says, deal didn't close. It wasn't my fault. I need you to return that $5,000. Guess what? That wholesale has already spent the money. So never, ever, never, ever, 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 ever hold the deposit. Let the investor-friendly title company hold the deposit. Now, if they're holding the deposit and the cash buyer reneges, then yeah, that's your money. We had a case where I was wholesaling a property in DC, and the cash buyer wrote a contract on it. His team came and looked at the property, took pictures. They said okay, and we're under contract. $10,000 deposit. He put up a $10,000 deposit. The wholesale fee was $30,000. The day before settlement, the actual cash buyer went and looked at the property and determined that he didn't want it. Called, apologized. I don't want the property. We said, well, you're going to have to forfeit the deposit. He looked at the contract. He said, yeah, I know. It's fine. And we kept the deposit. There was no fuss. He knew. And so, but if it's not the cash buyer's fault that it doesn't close, you got to return that money. It's easier to return if you don't have the money. We've got to know how to negotiate. We negotiate down to the wholesale fee. Not the wholesale fee, but we negotiate down to the MAO, to the formula. And so you've got to know how to negotiate. We've got 8 different ways to negotiate. This is not a negotiating talk, but we teach that. And so those are everything that you guys need to know about wholesale. And so here's my question. When are you going to wholesale? Like, you've got to wholesale. You've got to make some money. There's deals all around. We are in a market where cash buyers, I'm a cash buyer too. I'm not wholesaling now. I'm buying properties because there's a shortage. There's a shortage of inventory. And I want to be on the winning side of that shortage. And the winning side is sellers who are selling their properties and investors who are fixing and flipping their properties, and the agents who represent them. So listing agents, that's the winning side. That side is less stressful. And so cash buyers, the formula is 70%. They buy at 70%. I know of cash buyers that are buying higher, paying top dollar in this market because they know that by the time that they renovate the property and put it back on the market, it's going to have appreciated even a little better, another maybe 5%. So there's cash buyers now that are buying these properties at 70%. I saw one buy at 80%. And so you guys just have to get out and find properties where you would have made $15,000. Now you're going to make $20,000. Again, it's not unheard of to make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 wholesale fee. I had a deal a few years ago where right before, about 3 days before settlement, the seller died and she passed away. The house was, she owned the property free and clear. She died. And my contract survives that. So my contract stayed on the property. Now, they went through probate. Her daughter was assigned personal representative. Her daughter hired an attorney to try to deem my contract null and void. I hired an attorney as well. So her daughter, who was a personal representative, hired an attorney. I hired an attorney, and my attorney, I mean, we were in the right. And so my contract survived. Took 2.5 years to actually close that deal. But somebody put in the comment section, what happened for me in that 2.5 years? What happened? Because I was just sitting back. I was just sitting back chilling. My contract was good. I'm chilling. But guess what happened? In 2.5 years, that property appreciated where I was under contract for $665,000. I was able to sell that property or assign that contract for $900. You gained equity. Value went up. That's right, Danielle and Keith. Absolutely. I'm under contract for $665,000. I assigned that contract, you guys, do the math, for $950,000. It was a 4-level row, big Victorian by the new convention center downtown. The guy actually bought the property for $950,000. I made my wholesale fee. He turned that 4-level huge brownstone into 2 condos. Sold each condo for $1.2 million. And so he got his. Took him like 1.5 years. He got his money, but like I made like almost $300,000 wholesale fee. And so that's what you can do with wholesaling, you guys. I didn't put up any cash, no credit. That's wholesaling, and that's what you guys are going to do. And so here's what I want you guys to do in the next 60 days. This is your 60-day plan to your next wholesale deal. Write this down. 10 steps. Write this down. And I want you guys to report back to me. I want you to report back to me your success. And one of you guys is going to close a deal, maybe 2 or 3 in the next 60 days. Number one, identify a marketing area. Know your area, know your neighborhood, identify that area, identify that market. Know what that target is. What's that targeted area? So a place where you grew up, a place where you live now, a place that you frequent often. Dominate that area. You want to put up bandit signs in that area. You want to send letters or postcards to all the absentee owners in that area. Letters or postcards to all the owners in that area that own their houses free and clear. You're going to get a list to do the mailing. And you're going to get the list from listsource.com, listability.com, melissadata.com. Get that list, build that list. You can also get the list from PropStream or realeflow.com. Two of the CRMs I'll talk about in a second. Get the list, do the mailings there. I walk my personal neighborhood so the neighbors know me. You can door knock. A lot of my investors door knock. There's many ways to dominate an area. And so that's one of the things I want you to do is find the motivated sellers in that area. Go driving for dollars. I said that's one of the things that Steve does is he drives for dollars. Uses an app, Deal Machine. And so in front of the house, you can put in, he pulls out his app on his phone, puts in the address, and then the homeowner's name and number pops up. Call right in front. You can make a phone call. Hey, my name is Greg Bennett. I'm in front of your house. It looks to be vacant and abandoned. I'm a real estate investor. I pay cash for properties. I'm calling to see if you might be interested in selling your property. I'd love to make a cash offer. That's your script. And you've got to do that and keep doing that while you're there, while you're in front. Now, PropStream will also allow you to hit a couple buttons, and then you can send a postcard while you're in front of their house. Obviously, it goes through the mail, but you can send a postcard, a pre-printed postcard to that owner. And so you can do that as well. But that's driving for dollars. So go driving for dollars. Probate. I talked about Asia and going to the probate office. One of our investors, Dorothy, she averages about $30,000 a wholesale deal. She goes after probate. That's one of her niches, probate. The reason she goes after probate, listen to this, you guys, 80% of the time when one passes away, they pass away owning real property. So they pass away owning real estate. Of that 80%, 70% of them own the real estate free and clear of mortgages. The personal representatives in most cases need to sell the properties. So there's lots of room in there, lots of equity, lots of room to negotiate. And so whenever you hear me talk about or anybody else talk about making a $100,000 wholesale fee or over a $200,000 wholesale fee, $50,000 wholesale fee, 9 times out of 10, it's a probate deal. 9 times out of 10, it's a probate deal. Go after probate. And so that's one of the things. I think somebody put in the comment section, there was a time recently because of COVID that the probate office is closed. I can't, somebody let me know if the probate office is back open. There are people who actually sell the list. They actually go down and sell the list. So you can find a probate list off of people who sell, or as I used to do, I would go down once or twice a week to the probate office and pull all the new filings, call them with a script, or send them a letter, or really, I used to send postcards. I get my postcards. You can get them from Vistaprint. You can get them from yellletters.com, Postcard Mania. You can get your pre-printed postcards from those people. Absentee owners. Like, I've made a killing from absentee owners. An absentee owner is one who owns the property but doesn't live there. The house is either vacant or abandoned, or it's a rental property. If it's a rental property, landlords sell their properties every 5 to 6 years. Landlords buy their properties, they're investors, so they get deals, so they buy the properties with equity. They gain equity in 5 to 6 years, and then they need to sell the property. They sell the property because they get tired of the tenants, toilets, and termites, 3 T's. hate it. And it just drives them crazy. They're not in there for the long haul. They've picked the wrong tenant, and it's just too much for them. And so we see them at the landlord-tenant court. A lot of my investors would go to the landlord-tenant court and pass out their business cards. You can get a list of absentee owners. There's lots of places that you can actually get absentee owners, again, through ListSource, Listability, PropStream, Real eFlow. You can get those lists. Auction properties. There's an investor, one of my investors that I coach. His strategy is going to the auctions and winning the bids. He puts the money up and he wholesales those properties. He gets reimbursed his deposit plus his wholesale fee. I've had numerous. Another Marita, she won a bid on Hubzu, and she wholesaled that property. She actually wholesaled the property to me, property in Baltimore. Bon Secure off of Northern Parkway. She wholesaled the property to me, and I believe she made about $15,000. She won that on Hubzu. She put it in an LLC. I took over the LLC, and we closed in like 3 weeks. Paid her a wholesale fee. Auction properties are really good, either online or in front of the courthouse steps. You can find properties in the MLS. Now, I use MLS as one of the last because you get the better deals off market. I don't really look for deals on the MLS. People bring me deals on the MLS, or real estate agents actually bring me deals. And so, which means as a wholesaler or an investor, it would behoove you to have relationships with real estate agents because they get listings. And sometimes the listings are distressed. Sometimes the homeowner wants to sell the property as is. Have those relationships. I have relationships with REO agents that get listings from the banks. And generally speaking, once the property has been on the market for about 30 days, now the asset managers, they're a little more lenient on going down on the price. When that happens, they call me because they know I can deliver, and we go on the contract. So every year, 4 or 5 deals a year is through an REO agent. So you want to have those kind of relationships. All of these, you guys, are getting you to the point where you can close a deal in 30 days. The first question is, what's your market area? Second question is, how are you going to find the motivated sellers? How are you going to find the deals, you guys? That's the key. Here's what I left for last in terms of marketing, lead generation. But it's first. It's networking. It's branding. You've got to brand. Look, I'm branding myself. Where is it? Right here. And so sometimes branding is wearing a hat. I think I've got a hat in here, a shirt. Some of my investors put magnets on their cars, so it's branding. Social media is branding. You put on social media now that you're a real estate investor. You can buy properties fast. You can pay cash, and you can buy as is. Put it on there now. Tag me. Let me know that you're serious. But do it consistently. So networking. I always use the example. One of my investors, I talked about probate. The best way to get the probate deals, you guys, is through networking. That's the best way. A personal representative would rather sell to someone they know than someone that they don't know. Someone that's calling them, someone that's sending letters and postcards. And so one of my investors, Gary, he's branded. Used to be with the fire department. Branded. Everybody at the fire department knows that he's a real estate investor. Family and friends know he's a real estate investor. Everyone in his church knows that he's a real estate investor. Lady in his church, mother passed away. She's personal representative of the state. Because he's so branded, she got all these calls, all these letters, all these postcards. She went with her church member, Gary. Gary put her on a contract, and he wholesaled the deal. That's the best way to find, is networking. Creating a database and then marketing to that database, branding yourself in that database. We use databases, you guys, PropStream, Real eFlow. We use automation, technology to run our business. If you're serious about this, look up PropStream, look up Real eFlow. Get the CRMs, the automation that's going to help you with your business, but also help you close that first deal in the next 60 days, you guys. Build that cash buyers list. I think a couple people put their information here. Use me as a cash buyer. Build a team. I want you to have a big goal. You will never, ever achieve a big goal without building a big team. Have a dream team. Part of your dream team is a coach or a mentor. Also, someone that, a cash buyers list, someone that actually can go out and estimate repair costs. Investor-friendly title company. Our investor-friendly title company celebrates settlement services. Are investor friendly. They close all of my deals, all of our investor deals. They're located in my real estate office. And so they're learned on real estate investing their investors themselves. Real estate agent, if you guys don't have a real estate agent, obviously an accountant, but build that dream team. Build the list, build the dream team so that when you find a property, you've got all the players in place. So I didn't mention cold calling, but you want to cold call. Some of my investors use Craigslist for the and they put properties and ads on Craigslist. The key to your success, you guys, the key to your success is to take action. That's the key. That's the key to your success. I can really go on and on and on and on with what you should do. You've got to know your numbers. You've got to make appointments. You've got to have a relationship with your cash buyers. I would prefer you not to use a cash buyer that you don't know. Form relationships. Bond with them. When my wholesalers wholesale deals to me, I want them to follow me on my project so that they learn, so that one day they can flip properties too. And so that's the type of cash buyer that you want. You also want to have a cash buyer that's happy to pay you. I had a property on Florida Avenue, Northwest DC, where I told one of my cash buyers on my cash buyers list, this was a few years ago, what the numbers were. He was happy to buy the property at the number I gave him. He came to verify and looked at the property, said, yes, where's the contract? And so in order for me to get him to sign my assignment agreement, I had to show him the purchase contract. He looked at my purchase contract and saw that the difference between what I had it under contract for and what he was happy to purchase it for, the difference was $70,000. That $70,000 was my wholesale fee. He reneged on the deal. He said, no, I'm not paying you $70,000. And so I took the assignment agreement and I calmly walked out because I said to myself, there's more cash buyers. If he's not willing to pay me the $70,000 that the numbers call for, that really he already agreed to, then I don't want to do business with him. I quickly, the next day, found another cash buyer, and make a long story short, we closed the deal. Do deals with cash buyers that are happy. I once paid a couple years ago, one of my agent investors had a deal, probate deal. She worked that deal, put it on the contract. I started negotiating with her. I was below my Mayo formula. I mean, I was at probably around 60%. She said, no problem. She was real calm. No problem. That's fine. I get the contract and I'm paying $120,000 wholesale fee. Now, my numbers are brilliant. My numbers are good. I'm happy. I see her number, 120,000. Got to admit, it took a deep breath. But you know what I said to myself? I'm happy. I'm happy she's getting hers. I'm happy to pay her. I paid her $120,000 wholesale fee. She made that $120,000 wholesale fee in 3 weeks. I renovated the property. Took me probably 7-8 months to renovate the property. Had some change orders. I had to go up on the property, up a level. So it took a while with permits and inspections and things like that. I made in 7 or 8 months, happy to make it $120,000. She made her $120,000 wholesaling in 3 weeks. Didn't use any of her own money. Didn't show any of her own credit. That's why I like wholesaling. And so when I find a property, I ask myself, number one, is this a property that I can wholesale? I ask myself also, is this a deal where I can use some type of creative financing to purchase the property? And then lastly, I ask myself, is it, can I go the traditional way? But wholesaling is my first option. Always. As I said earlier, as far as I'm concerned, as an investor, it's the best strategy. I've been doing this a long time, you guys, over 30 years. And one thing that I personally try to stay away from now, because all I think about is retirement, is reducing my risk, reducing my stress. And the way to do that is through wholesaling and then taking that cash and then buying and holding. So I have my cash building strategy. So I wholesale to hold. Wholesale to hold. Do I flip? I do. I do flip. I've got 4 projects going on now, but my favorite is wholesale. And so I want that to be your favorite. And I want you guys to do some of those things that I've already talked about to get your first deal in the next 60 days. Here's a question that I get all the time. As a real estate agent, can you wholesale? Obviously you can. You just have to disclose. So on our contract, our investor-friendly contract, we already have on a contract that you're disclosing. You're disclosing that you're a real estate agent. Even on a off-market deal, you have to disclose in writing, if you're a real estate agent, that you're a real estate agent. So we have that boilerplate on the deal. I recently purchased a property where an agent, an REO agent, found the property, and the original buyer, the deal fell apart. And so she called me. And so I wrote a contract, and she wrote the contract. I signed it. We closed on the deal. So on that deal, she was the listing agent and she was the buyer's agent. She received that settlement, the full 6% commission. Plus, I paid her, not a wholesale fee, we call it a bonus. Plus, I paid her, the buyer paid her a bonus. There was an addendum with the buyer paying her a bonus, and that bonus was on the settlement sheet. And so the question is, can a buyer pay a listing agent a bonus? Absolutely, as long as it's disclosed. It was on settlement sheet. There's an addendum. Seller signed the addendum acknowledging that the buyer was paying her a bonus. So she got paid 3 times on the front end. She got both sides of the commission, and she got a bonus / wholesale fee, but a bonus from me that was disclosed. Renovated the property. It took me about 6 weeks to renovate the property. After I renovated the property, I gave the relist back to her. So now she's the listing agent again. She happened to find the buyer for my renovated property. She got paid the full 6% commission on the out sale. So she got paid twice. So all in all, you guys, she got paid 5 times. Both on the listing side. So when I purchased it, she got both sides, the buyer and the seller side. She got a bonus that was disclosed, and she got the relist and found the buyer 5 times. That's not uncommon. And so as a real estate agent, can you also wholesale your listings? The answer is yes. You just have to disclose that to your seller. You can't call it a wholesale fee. You have to call it a bonus. Buyer can pay a bonus as long as it's disclosed in writing, addendum, and on the settlement sheet. And so you can do that as an agent. You have to do that as an agent. Maximize your opportunity. While you're doing that, learn how to wholesale yourself and get in the game. Like my agent investors, that's why I like to say, and I don't brag about it, but my agent investors make more money than any other agent, because not only do they get the full 100% on their commissions, they're also buying and holding properties, fixing and flipping properties, and most of them are also wholesaling their properties. So they're looking at the real estate game and the real estate business differently than probably 95% of all the other agents, because they're agent investors. Wholesaling is one of the strategies. And so you guys got to get with it. Get with the wholesaling. I'll be giving more content on wholesaling, fixing and flipping, and everything as it relates to real estate investing and just investing, building wealth, leaving a legacy in general. And so I close you with this. Let me see if I have any questions. I don't think so. Danielle, I found 3 cash buyers yesterday. And so Danielle is saying that she found 3 cash buyers at the courthouse yesterday. She was at the courthouse yesterday and added onto her cash buyers list. Look, you guys, we're in a pandemic now. The market is hot. There's more buyers than sellers. So we're in a seller's market. I believe that inventory is going to increase with the increase of vaccinations. And so there's going to be more opportunities for investors. With more sellers selling, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of sellers going to foreclosure. So there's going to be a lot of short sales. There's going to be a lot of REO properties, properties being auctioned off at the courthouse. You got to learn this stuff, you guys. You've got to learn it. This is not an industry where you make 9 to 5 money. Sky's the limit. But you've got to open your eyes and your mind up to this information, like I did many, many, many years ago, and capitalize on it and take advantage of it. And so that's what we do. That's what we do here at Bennett Realty Solutions. If you're interested in joining our brokerage, go to joinbrs.com. It's scrolling on the bottom there. Joinbrs.com. Follow me on Instagram, Greg Bennett Invest. Some of you guys are on my YouTube channel. Be a part of that. Join that as well. Look, you guys, contact me if you have any questions about anything that I've talked about. But let's get going. Let's go. Wholesaling, fixing and flipping, buying and holding. Let's maximize the information and let's live up to our fullest potential starting today. Let's close our first deal in the next 60 days. You can do it, but you have to take action. You've got to learn this stuff and not be afraid to fail. Take action. Be the best that you can be. Let's go. Let's go now. All right, you guys, take care. God bless. A lot of you guys here. Thank you guys for being here. If you need anything, call me. Take care. God bless. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a great, wonderful day.